Welcome everyone to Rising Out of the Chrysalis Stories That Inspire with Marissa Grace, where we share life stories of struggle and triumph, not only of my own life experiences, but also through the experiences of my own guests, as a way to help you have breakthroughs and find hope in your own life. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of our show. And today I wanted to really talk about fear. We all experienced it at some point, multiple times, or we may still be in a constant fear for whatever reason. And fear comes in many ways, many different flavors, so to speak. And I wanted to kind of gain clarity of what fear is, how to break free of the fear that you probably may be experiencing. But first, let's understand fear. Fear in itself is not a bad thing. It is something that we as humans are meant to experience. Fear is part of our fight or flight response. It is meant to help us run away from a fire, right? We will get that jump, that emotion, that adrenaline, that quick adrenaline fear that will prompt us to respond to a situation. So that's what fear is meant to be in our lives. We're meant to feel it, experience it, and then let go of it. So it serves a purpose, and it's there for a good cause. We're all meant to experience it. We're all going to experience it in different situations, different times of our lives. So fear in itself is not a bad thing. It's supposed to help us through our experience. It's supposed to help us get out of danger, right? To help us prompt a response so we move away from danger, dangerous situations. That's what fear is there for. But what happens? What happens is oftentimes when we're in a situation, that situation may be long lasting, or the emotion of fear stays longer than it's supposed to be. So we may hold on to that emotion of fear for a prolonged period of time. And that's where we become stuck. And that's where the issue comes from with a lot of individuals. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say, I'll give you an example of my childhood. My brother and I used to love just jump through roofs of houses. Where we used to live was the countryside. The homes were kind of like 1 or 2 levels, so the roofs were lower. We're able to climb up. But oftentimes he would kind of scare me that he was going to throw me off the roof and I was going to fall. So, if it happens once, we're going to get that fear response. We're going to respond, which is going to motivate us to take an action that's going to move us away from danger. But what happens is, if you kept doing it over and over again, now I developed the fear of heights. Now I'm afraid every time that I'm in a high place, or I'm climbing up a ladder, or if I'm in a 4-story building looking down, I have a fear that I'm going to fall. Why? Because the initial situation repeated itself. So I never got a chance to process the emotion of fear. It really didn't get a chance to come in and process itself and leave. It kept coming back. And that's where we end up getting stuck in a state of fear. is when we don't have, or we are not allowed the proper amount of time to process it, and it stays for a prolonged period of time. So for like those individuals that may be suffering from PTSD, they often are re-experiencing an experience that was traumatizing over and over again, causing them to be in this constant state of emotion or fear. So what happens with that? So let's say you have a traumatic experience, and that experience in itself was so traumatic that the state of fear did not get a chance to leave, right? That emotion of fear that you experience stayed for a very long time because the trauma was so great, or the trauma repeated itself. And that would be the case for an abusive situation, or if we're living in a home where there was chaos and it wasn't a stable home, maybe, mom and dad were alcoholics, drug addicts, there was instability. So there was a constant, every day, a state of instability, of trauma or fear. So if you were living day to day within that fear, that emotion of fear never got a chance to process itself. So you weren't able to release it. So it stays. So what happens when it stays? It becomes stagnant, right? It stays in your field. Now we must understand one thing, that we are energetic beings. The essence of who we are, our soul, is energy. Our emotions are a frequency of energy. Everything that we experience emotionally, each emotion that we experience has its own energetic frequency. So now that you experience this fear, and this fear is constant, you're constantly experiencing every day, that energy of that fear becomes constant in your energetic field. And over time, it kind of grows. It's like mold, right? So it starts growing and growing and growing. And before you know it, it's bigger than anything that you can imagine. And it's dense and it feels heavy. So heavy that you can actually feel it in your body. You could feel it on your shoulders. You can feel it on your chest. You can feel that fear physically on your body. And it oftentimes feels like you're inside of this bubble that you can't get out of it. You could try to, liberate yourself from it, but you keep bouncing back. It's like you're inside of this bubble that no matter where you pull, you push, you keep coming back to the center of it. Like there's these walls that surround us, where that's energy. Those walls, it's that energetic field that now has been created because that emotion in itself has grown to this potential that is bigger than you can imagine, and has created a wall all around your own energetic field. And it prevents you from doing things or living everyday life like a normal person, so to speak, right? Prevents you from living the way you're supposed to be living. It might prevent you from leaving your house. It might prevent you from getting out of that door. That fear, that energy will stop you from opening the front door and going outside. So now you're a hostage. You're a hostage in your own home because you don't have the ability or the power to leave the space that you're in, because this fear has grown so big, so dense, that it feels like you imprisoned. So you feel like you're locked up in the space, but it's an invisible wall that's surrounding you, but it feels so real. So to another person, it's not there. They don't see it. They don't understand you. They don't understand why can't you just walk outside? Why can't you just get in a car and drive? What's the big deal? There's nothing there preventing you. Just go. It's easier said than done. For those of you who are experiencing it, whatever that fear is that's preventing you from, whether it's leaving your home, whether it's getting in the car and driving, whether it's getting to work or going to the doctor's office, that's impairing you from living your life. No one can understand that but you, they're actually experiencing, because it's invisible. No one else can see it, but you can feel it. You can feel the restraints of that energy. You can feel it suffocating you. You can feel those walls preventing you from moving, from making that step, from going outside, from leaving your house. So what happens with this energetic field is it keeps growing like a mold. So the longer you stay in it, the longer it grows. And because it's magnetic, because it's an energy field, it starts attracting more negative into it, becomes a magnet for more negativity to come in. So now it starts attracting more negative thoughts. It starts attracting possible illnesses where you feel, I have a headache, I don't feel good. So now you come up with all these excuses, but it's really that energetic field that's creating this within you. So you start feeling sick. So every time you have to go food shopping, you start having symptoms that or excuses, right? You have all these excuses. My legs couldn't move today. I woke up with a massive headache, so I couldn't go and do the things that I needed to do. It prevented me from leaving the house. It prevented me from getting in the car. So I need you to understand that once you understand what this is, all it is, it's an energetic field that you created. Yes, you created it. Initially, you created it. Over time, it just grew into a thing of its own. And now it has power over you. Over time, you have given your power over to this thing, to this energy. And now this energy itself has control over you and your life, has control of how you're going to behave and what you're going to do. So how do you break free of this? How do you let go? Well, I'm going to give you a story of my own. So for a long time, since I was a teen, I suffered from depression. I had severe depression due to childhood trauma that I had experienced. And I too had this fear, and this fear was created in my teen years. And it just grew to the point where I was afraid to be around people. I was afraid to be around groups of people. So if I was in a group of more than 2 people, that was scary to me. I tried everything to avoid individuals, or even when I went to the store, tried to avoid interacting with people, didn't want to talk to anybody. There was a fear that was preventing me from just being myself and living my life. Until I realized what it was, until I realized, hey, I have the power. All those years, I had given my power to this thing. This thing was controlling my life. Until I had an aha moment. I said, wait a minute. I no longer want to live this way. I no longer want this fear to control my life because this is not the way I want to live. I don't want to live this way. I want to be able to do the things that I want to do. I want to feel free. I don't want to feel like a hostage. I want to be able to break free from this. So how do I do this? Well, one is becoming aware that you have the power. You have the power to create it. Therefore, you have the power to dismantle it. This energy, this wall you created, even though it's making you believe that you are powerless, it's not true. It wants you to believe that. It wants you to think that you have no power. It wants you to think that this thing is bigger than you could control or do anything about. It wants you to think that because it feels comfortable. Think about it. You created this thing. It feels at home. You gave it a very comfortable home to live in. It doesn't want to leave. Think of that virus that came into your computer. It doesn't want to leave. That's where it wants. The parasite wants to live in your body. It wants to be there. It feeds off of you. You keep giving it food. You keep feeding all these negative thoughts. It's very comfortable. It doesn't want to leave. It's not going to tell you anything other than you deserve this, that you have no control over this. But it's not true. You have the power, you have the will to break free of this fear. And you can do this. One is becoming aware that you are not this thing. You are not this wall that's surrounding you, that's preventing you from living the life that you deserve. So that's step one. Once you become aware, then you have to know that you are separate from it. You're not this thing. You're not this fear. You're not this wall that's surrounding you. You're not that. You know who you are. Go back to when you were a little child, how free you were, how happy you were. Go back to those moments. You realize that's who you truly are. Those moments of true happiness. You will find it. Know that's who you truly are. You're not this. Keep reminding yourself that. And three, just like any intruder that comes into your home, that's unwanted, unwelcome, you have to look at this thing as an intruder in your life. And you have to be able to say, you're not welcome, and I'm kicking you out. You have to be able to break free of it, no longer own it. You have to be able to separate yourself from it and say that you're no longer welcome. I no longer welcome you. You're not welcome. I haven't given you permission to do this. I never said yes. I might have allowed you to come in, but I never said yes. I never said you could stay. I never said you could do this, right? Even though it sounds simple, it is. It's simple, but it's so hard to do. But yet you can do it. Become aware of what you created. Know that it's just an energy that's there. Know that you're separate from it. You're not it. You know who you are deep down. You know who you are. Go back to those wonderful memories, those happy moments in your life. Remember who you are. Remember those happy moments and remind yourself, this is who I am. I'm not this. Separate yourself from this fear. You're not the fear. And break away from it. So just like as you would kick out an intruder that would come into your home, you will have to kick out this fear, Separate yourself from it. And it may take everything that you got inside of you, it may take all the energy within you to do it. But you will have to do it. You will have to release it. Release it out. So you no longer identify with that. You're no longer that energy. It's no longer part of who you are. It's separate from you. You have to understand that it's just energy. That emotion is an energy that's been created, and you have let it grow over the years. You've been feeding it. You know, it felt cozy, right? A lot of times these negative emotions feel cozy, right? They trick you into thinking that it feels good. As long as I'm in this victim mode, I perhaps get sympathy, right? And perhaps people will feel sorry for me, and I get compassion or love that way. Think about it. Is that why you're sitting in that fear? Or is the reward the sympathy that you're getting from others? Are you getting validation? Are you getting people to feel sorry for you? And that feels good for the moment, and then it goes away, and then you feel bad again. So things that feel good, they don't just go away. They're long lasting. So by getting rid of this, you no longer need that validation. You don't no longer need people to feel sorry for you to come in, because that feeling that you're going to get afterwards will remain forever. That feeling of freedom, because you will be validating yourself constantly. You're not going to be dependent on anyone to come in and bring that sense of feeling sorry, of, feeling sorry for you, bringing you gifts, that sense of love. Sometimes we get love out of those actions, but that love that you get out of those actions doesn't stay. It's not long lasting. It ends very quickly. And then you crave more and more and more. You crave more sympathy. So you keep reaching out for more sympathy. Keep reaching out for more help, but you don't accept the help. You just want the sympathy of the help, but you don't want the actual help. Think about it. Because what does that mean to you if you get the help? What happens? What happens afterwards? Once this thing is gone, what's next, right? Then you have the fear of, what does it feel like once I no longer have this fear? What is life like without it? That's another thing you really have to envision and start feeling. So a good thing is to look at someone, look up to someone, right? Someone that we admire, that we may think they have it all together. So it's a good perspective or focus to stay on and say to myself, I would love to have the feeling like this person that I look up to. That person seems to have it all. They feel good. They have no fear. They're living the life. They're going out. They're able to go for walks with their dogs, have family functions. They're happy. They're having fun. That's what I'm going to aspire to be. So use an example, someone that you know in your life, to be that aspiration of what you might want to feel like once this thing is gone. What do you imagine yourself to feel like? What do you imagine yourself be doing? What kind of activities will you be doing once it's out of your life? Especially if you've been living this for a very long time and many years, and you've been in this state, you may not know what it's like to live without it. You may not know what life could be like. So you have to start imagining. You have to start picturing that life and the things that you'll be able to do. And what is that going to feel like? So that you prepare yourself to receive it. Once you're, to that point where you're able to let go, you have to be ready to receive the freedom that comes with it. So once you're free of it, what is your life going to be like? You have to start putting the picture together